They say legends come from a sliver of truth, but what if that sliver came with scales, fins, and glowing eyes? For centuries, sailors swore they saw beautiful, half-human creatures slipping beneath the waves, singing songs, dragging men to their doom, or simply watching from the rocks. While most chalked it up to myth or madness, what if they actually saw something real? Today we're diving into real-life sea creatures that might just explain where those haunting mermaid stories began. Imagine you've been at sea for months. You're dehydrated, sunburned, and slowly losing your grip on reality. Then, suddenly, you spot a figure rising from the waves. Long arms, a rounded face, and what looks like a tail sliding beneath the surface. You've just seen a mermaid. Or so you think. In reality, you've met a manatee. Christopher Columbus himself wrote about encountering mermaids in the Caribbean in 1493, though he admitted they were, quote, not as beautiful as they are painted. Harsh, but understandable. Manatees are large, gentle marine mammals that can grow over 13 feet long and weigh more than 1,000 pounds. But when they float upright to breathe, cradle their young, and glance towards a ship, it's not hard to see why sailors, hyped up on rum and desperation, thought they'd found something magical. It's one of the clearest examples of myth meeting biology. If the manatee is the mermaid of the Atlantic, the dugong is her cousin in the Indian Ocean. These guys are smaller, more streamlined relatives of manatees, and they've also played a major role in mermaid lore across Southeast Asia, East Africa, and even Australia. What's eerie is how these guys nurse their babies. They do it upright, so if you're watching from a boat, it looks like a human woman holding a child while floating in the sea. Add long, flipper-like arms and a tail that tapers like the classic mermaid fin, and the illusion becomes downright spooky. Ancient cave paintings and oral traditions from Malaysia and Papua New Guinea depict sea women that match these guys' anatomy almost exactly. There's even evidence that early sailors created fertility charms modeled after them, thinking they'd witnessed a sacred being. Turns out mermaids might have had tusks and whiskers this whole time. It has the body of an eel, the head of a dragon, and teeth like a medieval torture device. Meet the frilled shark, one of the most bizarre and ancient creatures still swimming in the oceans today. This deep-sea predator can grow over 6 feet long and really hasn't changed much in over 80 million years. When it surfaces, which is rare, it sends shivers down the spine. Its gaping jaws are filled with over 300 needle-like teeth arranged in rows, and its body moves in snake-like waves, exactly the kind of horror that fuels darker mermaid legends. In Celtic and Scandinavian folklore, there are stories of sea maidens with sharp teeth who lured fishermen to their deaths. Japanese Ningyo tales describe mermaids with a grotesque face and a body like a serpent. Many of these descriptions match the frilled shark far more closely than the romanticized Disney version that we're used to. It's the kind of creature that makes you wonder if sailors are seeing mermaids or monsters. You're floating in calm waters when suddenly a massive silver ribbon glides beneath your boat. It's over 30 feet long, has glowing fins, and moves like it's dancing. That's not your imagination. That's an oarfish. These rare deep-sea dwellers are the longest bony fish in the ocean and live thousands of feet below the surface. But when they're sick or dying, they float upward, and that's when humans get a glimpse. Ancient sightings of sea serpents off the coasts of Norway, Greece, and even the Pacific Islands often describe shimmering finned creatures with a crown-like head. That matches the oarfish almost perfectly. In Japanese folklore, oarfish are known as messengers from the sea god's palace, and their appearance is believed to predict earthquakes. Some Pacific Island legends also talk about sea queens or glowing maidens who rise before disaster. Coincidence? Maybe. But when you see the oarfish in motion, it's easy to understand how one fish could launch 1,000 mermaid stories. Alright, so technically not a sea creature, but stick with me. The axolotl might be one of the strangest and most mythical animals on Earth. Found only in the ancient lakes and canals of Mexico, these little amphibians have gills like feathery crowns, wide eyes, and permanently smiling faces. They also have the rare ability to regenerate entire limbs and even parts of their brain. To the Aztecs, the axolotl wasn't just an animal, it was a god. They believed it was the transformation of Xolotl, the twin brother of Quetzalcoatl, who turned himself into a water creature to escape sacrifice. The word axolotl even translates to water dog or water spirit. In Mesoamerican mermaid folklore, there are stories of guild women who live in sacred lakes and healed the sick. It's easy to imagine a culture encountering a glowing, smiling, regenerating water creature and building entire legends around it. In fact, many locals still believe axolotls bring luck and that harming one invites a curse. That's a lot of weight for one little smiling amphibian. Picture a fish-like creature that washes up on shore with glowing scales, a monkey-like mouth, and hauntingly human eyes. It sounds made up, right? In Japan, this being is called the Ningyo, and it's part of local folklore for centuries. Some versions of the story say that eating its flesh grants immortality, but also comes with a terrifying curse. But here's where things get strange. Some historians and researchers believe these stories may have stemmed from real sightings of grotesque deep-sea animals like the stargazer fish, which buries itself in sand with its upward-facing, human-like eyes exposed. Others think fishermen stumbled upon rotting specimens of rarely seen species, mistook them for supernatural beings, and preserved them. In fact, some preserved Ningyo mummies still exist in Japanese temples. They're disturbing, misshapen hybrids, usually stitched together from fish and monkey parts, but the devotion they've received over the years suggests people really believed they were once alive. Whether hoax, hybrid, or hallucination, the Ningyo legend might just be the creepiest mermaid origin story of all. If you've ever walked along a beach and found a small black pouch with curled tendrils at each corner, congratulations, you found a mermaid's purse. At least that's what folklore called them. In truth, they're the egg cases of sharks, skates, and rays. But for centuries, no one knew that. Old mariners believed these mysterious, leathery pods were literal mermaid eggs. Some said they'd fallen off a mermaid as she climbed onto the rocks. Others claimed finding one meant a sea maiden was nearby spying on humans. In Celtic and Norse legends, these purses were seen as omens, either blessings or curses, depending on the tide and where they were found. It wasn't until marine biology advanced in the 19th century that scientists figured out that these were actually baby shark nurseries. But the nickname Mermaid's Purse stuck, and to this day, many kids grow up calling them that. It's one of those rare cases where a myth and a scientific fact overlap, because the ocean never gives up its secrets all at once. Okay, this one's gonna sound weird. Sea cucumbers are basically squishy blobs that crawl along the ocean floor, but in several Pacific Island and Southeast Asian legends, they're not just sea slugs, they're shapeshifters. In Polynesian myth, there are tales of sea beings that could morph into women, walk on land, seduce fishermen, and then slip back into the sea as a boneless creature. It sounds like fantasy, but here's where it gets interesting. Some species of sea cucumber can eject their internal organs when threatened and then regrow them. Others can liquefy their bodies and slide through tiny crevices. Early sailors, unfamiliar with these bizarre defense mechanisms, believed sea cucumbers were magical or cursed. In Micronesia, elders speak of ocean spirits with bodies that, quote, melted into the waves. It's not hard to connect the dots between a regenerating, shape-shifting sea creature and the more bizarre mermaid myths. This is nature playing its weirdest cards, and humans, as always, turning those cards into stories. Now imagine it's nighttime. The fog rolls in, the only sound is the gentle lapping of waves until a guttural, human-like wail echoes from the rocks. You're not hallucinating. That scream? It's an elephant seal. Northern elephant seals are massive. Males can grow over 4,000 pounds, and they make some of the eeriest sounds in the animal kingdom. During mating season, they bellow and howl in ways that are disturbingly close to human cries. Early explorers along the California and Alaskan coasts described seeing, quote, grotesque mermaids on the shore, bloated bodies, bodies, long faces, wide eyes. Many of these reports likely described elephant seals in the middle of a fight or mating display. There are also Inuit stories of sea women with tragic voices who lured hunters too far from land. Some of those tales might have been inspired by real-life encounters with these beasts. It's a reminder that sometimes the creepiest mermaids aren't graceful or seductive, they are loud, aggressive, and built like a refrigerator with flippers. Our final creature might be the least mermaid-like, but it also might be the most terrifying. The Deep-Sea Anglerfish looks like a demon from a nightmare. The females are huge compared to the males. They have bioluminescent lures growing from their heads and mouths lined with translucent inward-pointing teeth. They live over a mile deep in the ocean, so deep that sunlight doesn't reach them, and when they rise towards the surface, usually only when dead or dying, they are absolutely horrifying to witness. I'm sure we all remember the anglerfish that went viral on TikTok earlier this year. I miss her. Some siren legends from Greece and West Africa mention sea women who glowed in the dark, hypnotized sailors with strange lights, and devoured men whole. Sound a little familiar? Scientists didn't get a full view of a live anglerfish until the early 2000s. Before that, all we had were creepy, half-rotted specimens. Imagine one of those washing up on shore in the Middle Ages. You'd absolutely think it was a demon or a sea witch. In a way, anglerfish are the purest proof that the ocean has always been full of creatures so bizarre, so alien that our minds did what they always do, turn them into myths. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thanks so much for checking it out. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I will see you again soon. Goodbye!